The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Dear friend of mine, now dead, sadly, wonderful man called Leland Owens. I can give his name now because he's no longer with us. Leland, a most charming, wonderful man with his own connections to the agency, knew one of Hillary's girlfriends. I got through to Hillary's girlfriend. I first briefed in Bill Clinton's people in Washington and said, look, you need to know about this CIA, the DNA test the CIA have done, and you better be aware that Obama is not eligible, and he's also reporting to the Jerrys. You need to back off fast with Obama. Bill was briefed in. Bill decided to sit on it. Bill held out on Hillary, thinking I could never get through to Hillary. I got through to Hillary through Leland, a charming man, and Hillary then went to Bill. There was a huge bust-up between Bill and Hillary. Hillary sent Bill to the West Coast to campaign for 3 weeks. There was a big, if you look at the 2008 election campaign, there was a time when Bill and Hillary had a major bust-up. That was because Hillary found out from the intelligence that Bill had been holding out on her on Obama. Unfortunately, the Clintons have a trail of dead bodies behind them going all the way from bloody Little Rock to Washington and over to Dubrovnik, in former Yugoslavia, where they sanctioned, Bill Clinton sanctioned the wiping out of one of his cabinet members, a guy called Ron Brown, who was whacked by the Germans setting up a fake radio beam so the bloody airplane flies into a mountaintop.
The man with the bullet hole in the back of his head.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a disgrace. It was a disgrace. They probably did whack him. I think what happened was that the Germans sent a team in. I think he survived the crash, and they whacked him. They sent a team in to assassinate him, make sure he was dead, and whack him. I think the bullet went in after the crash.
That's what we've always learned and come to know here in America.
Yeah, plane crashes. Commerce Secretary is still alive. Germans send in a death squad, and they shoot up the primary target is Brown, and Brown is shot while he's wounded. Very nasty, typically German. They often shoot you when you're wounded. The guy probably would have died anyway, but it's typical of the Germans to finish him off like that. Now, the Clintons, the Germans have so much on the Clintons that Obama was able to cut a deal with Hillary whereby she became Secretary of State. She agreed not to use the DNA report. She became Secretary of State, but she then ratted on Hayden because Hayden had held out on Bill and her. She got her own back on on Mike Hayden, by putting her man in, Leon Panetta, and that's how Leon became head of CIA. Now, Leon would never have been made head of CIA if I hadn't armed Hillary with intelligence on Obama's place of birth. It was that powerful. Did I get diddly squat from Leon Panetta? I didn't even get an invite into the George Bush Intelligence Center, let alone lunch. I mean, Jim Woolsey was class people. Woolsey was class. Woolsey would have me around for lunch. Woolsey, I've actually had meals with Woolsey, and Woolsey would always buy you lunch. Very nice man, and Woolsey treated me like a gentleman. He is a gentleman, and Woolsey and I still talk to each other occasionally. I haven't talked to Woolsey for a while, but you know, if I go to a meeting and Woolsey's there, we'll say, "Hi, Jim, how are you?" and vice versa. "Hello, Michael, how are you doing?" Woolsey would have treated me quite differently. Panetta was standoffish. I got some respect from State Department. They knew that I'd armed Panetta with this intelligence. Armed the Clintons. When Hillary was much nicer. Hillary, to give her due, the State Department always treated me with civility, which I highly value. It's just professional. It's nice. I was treated with great friendship and courtesy by the State Department when Hillary was Secretary of State, and everybody in the State Department I was dealing with, I was obviously dealing with the intelligence boys in the BNR, the Bureau of Intelligence and Research. It is BNR, isn't it? I keep forgetting the alphabet soup.
I believe so.
Yes, the Bureau boys. I was talking to the Bureau of Intelligence and Research. They obviously work closely with Langley. All the Bureau boys knew that Hillary was only Secretary of State because I had given her the intelligence on Obama. So I was treated, pretty respectfully. other people were looking at this and thinking, what the fuck is going on? How's Michael getting into the State Department in a democratic, And I was able to, Hillary, thanks to my intelligence, Hillary was able to pursue an independent U.S. foreign policy. And Obama was really pissed at that because he wanted Hillary to do all sorts of stuff that Hillary refused to do. And there was a Mexican standoff between Obama and Hillary. But I didn't get, the State Department Hillary could have done a lot more for me, didn't. And this video has now got into circulation, which is something I did in 2010, I think. And it might even have been earlier. It might have been 28. There were two videos, one in 28.
It had to be because you said in the video that Tony Blair was still in office.
Oh, it goes back to when Blair was PM. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that would have had to have been 2007, I believe.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because there was a changeover in 2007. No, you're quite right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right, because the changeover happened during the McCann kidnap case on which I worked.
Well, I mean, I'm simply amazed too about what you said about Rudy Giuliani. I mean, that was fascinating in itself to me, because you even made the comment that he wanted to run for the presidency and he had the information and he sat on it.
Yes, I don't know why Rudy sat on it. They may have had some. Oh, I do know why. I remember. Nah. Rudy had problems with his wife. Rudy wasn't shagging Mrs. Rudy. They were able to lean on Rudy. Rudy had big problems. In fact, he divorced, didn't he? Rudy had the mistress. Yeah, they had the mistress.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, exactly. I like Rudy. I mean, I never met him, but I thought he was a good mayor of New York. I think he did very well on 9/11. Sarah agrees. Don't Rudy Giuliani, mayor of New York, on 9/11? Good people. Yes. No.
Well, the one great thing he did is he cleaned that city up pretty well.
Yes, he did. No, I thought Rudy Giuliani was a great mayor. I knew he had the report, and I can't now recall who told me, but I did have a very high-level contact in New York City. I had contacts in NYPD counterterrorism, but I also had a very high contact who was in touch with Governor Pataki. Well, there was a Pataki who was governor of New York, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Pataki, my contact was, they were trying to put together a multi-billion-dollar development plan for a crappy part of Staten Island. And it involved, they were going to pay to extend the subway to Staten Island. I can't remember the detail of it, but they were in touch with Rudy and they were in touch with Pataki. And word reached me that Rudy was aware of this DNA test. And Rudy had his own intelligence contacts. And then I thought Rudy was going to go public, but they sat on him. That's the problem, you see. If they've got something on you, then you can't go public.
Well, I mean, I go back to the most simple, basic question I guess any man, particularly any American, could ask. How in the world could a man who is not eligible to be President of the United States, who is not even a natural-born citizen...
Well, he's not even an American citizen.
That's correct. How in the hell could he become the president of the most powerful country in the world?
Well, easily, because he was backed by, because America isn't the most powerful country in the world. You're only the most powerful country militarily. The world's most powerful intelligence power is Germany, and Germany runs Washington because they run Obama. They had German backing. Remember, Bush 41 works for the Germans, so Bush 41 works for the Germans, Obama...
I remember that. Yes, I do remember that, and that's been very well documented in our history here.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, if I end up dead, you can put all this out on the internet, don't worry. One of the reasons I'm open is that it keeps me alive, and I have conversations like this that people can't use when I'm alive. If I end up dead one morning, assume I've been bumped off by the Jerrys, and you feel free to broadcast all over the internet exactly what I've said.
Well, listen, the same thing applies from my end to you.
Exactly. Yes, that's how I stay alive. It's called life insurance.
The one thing about me is I refuse to let my daughter and my grandson grow up under communism. I just will not let that happen.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And why the hell should Obama wreck America? But Obama's backed by the German DVD, therefore he's in a very powerful position. He's backed by Bush 41. And he's in effective control of the administration in Washington, and he's got control. The one area he hasn't got control of is the Pentagon. You often see the Pentagon following a totally different foreign policy and a totally different policy to the president, That's because the Pentagon have got the DNA test, because I gave it to the Pentagon. And that's why, one of the reasons why I'm flown out to aircraft carriers, and I get treated very nicely by the Pentagon, because the Pentagon used the DNA evidence to negotiate their budget. And they were
Well, that might be the main reason that he's purging the military of all their top officers.
He is conducting a little purge, yes, the little bastard. But he's got to be very careful, because the Pentagon is sitting on that DNA test. And the Pentagon got it from Mike Hayden. Mike was very reluctant to part with it, but I gave the Pentagon boys and the NSA the goods on Mike. They had a hold on Mike, and I think they were able to screw the DNA test out of Mike. But the Pentagon also had their own sources. They looked at his scholarship, his Fulbright scholarship, and his time at Occidental, and the Pentagon were able to access the mother's medical records. And the Pentagon independently concluded, after I told them, they went and did their own research, and they verified what I told them. He was definitely born in Mombasa. They also talked to our boys, because MI6 and 5, we were monitoring Obama's father. We know where he was born, because the bastard's father was in the Mau Mau. We had a file on him going back to the Mau Mau period. We had a file on the
Do you believe that Senior is indeed his natural father?
Senior travels on a German passport. I'm
talking about Barack Obama Sr., the one who's dead now.
Barack Obama Sr. was murdered in Kenya in 88, wasn't it?
But you do believe that was Obama's real father?
Yes. Yes, there's no doubt about the father. And the problem is with the mother. The mother is a mistress of the father, obviously, in Mombasa. And the guy was born in Mombasa in about 1960, I think August 1960. I think the date of birth is correct, 4th of August. The year is wrong. I think he was born 4th August the previous year. The mother was a mistress of the father that we had on file. MI5 and MI6 had him on file, shagging this mistress. And I think the mistress may have been Asian, Muslim mistress, possibly Asian, certainly some Arab blood in her.
Jeez,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. He's not a U.S. citizen.
You've seen that anyone who discusses this topic is called every name.
Yeah, I know. It's the usual abuse. Abuse. You don't like what they're saying, so there must be a nut or a crank. Yeah, it's the old, argumentum ad hominem. It's the weakest form of argument. It's not even a form of argument. The people who adopt that approach just betray the weakness of their position.
Well, you also have the fact that there have been 2 documents uncovered that Nancy Pelosi signed on the behalf of the Democratic National Committee, and both of the documents were different. Yeah. And in one document, this is from my memory, I don't have them in front of me, but in one document, they declared that Obama was eligible under the Constitution. Yeah. And then in the second document, they just declared that he was eligible and didn't even mention the Constitution. Yeah. Those documents were found, and they were riveting in themselves, and absolutely nothing has happened. And well, you appear to me to be a very honest man, and that's what struck me in your video that I saw this morning. It's the first thing I saw when I woke up. I was still going, "Oh my God, I must be dreaming." Yeah. Well, I've never been scared of the FBI. I've never been scared of the CIA. I've never been scared.
The FBI are pussies. They throw their weight around a bit, but they're pussies really. I quite like the FBI. God bless them. They do their best. They're not very bright.
I have real good friends in the FBI.
Oh, I value some friendships of people who ex-agents, and I had a particularly good working relationship with someone in one of the field officers. On the whole, my relations with the FBI, they're not terribly bright, and they can be a bit snooty. They tend to think that they're brighter than they are. I find, dealing with the FBI, I just find them a bit standoffish. There's always this hint of menace when you talk to the FBI, like, if you don't like what you're saying, we'll whip the handcuffs out, and, we'll cut you off. They are just a little bit too full of themselves. It's much easier dealing with the CIA or NSA. NSA are much nicer, of course, than the CIA. They're real gentlemen up at Fort Meade. They're very nice people.
Oh, yeah, we're just tickled to death with the NSA here in America. I know your government is too.
Yeah,
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.